completely phase out the corporate tax. Now, people might ask, why do you begin with the two areas of business taxation? Right now, Iowa doesn't have a free market economy. We have a government subsidized economy. You know, it would not be an exaggeration if we said we ought to get our children to send thank you notes to the Chinese for underwriting government in Iowa, because our government is subsidized through government spending. If you take the government check out of the farm, if you take the government check out of the construction site, out of the financial services sector, if you fire tomorrow all the people who are government employees, from teachers to bureaucrats at the state and county, if you got rid of the businesses subsidized by government loans and other government spending, and nonprofits that are subsidized by government, Iowa economy collapses. Now, I'm a free market capitalist. So I begin on the end of tax reform that gets us back to free market capitalism and gets us away from socialism and in the case of the Republican, socialism in case of the Democrats, bordering on communism, and national socialism, small n, small s national socialism that is so often advocated by the Republicans. After we address the corporate tax, we then address the single most important area of tax reform in this state. Now, there are four pillars to Americanism: the right to be able to say what you believe, the right to be able to have your faith or your beliefs, the right to be able to be armed, and it's not for hunting meat, that's why we have grocery stores, the right to be armed, and the right to private property. These are the foundations of Americanism. Now, if the British had our property tax code, we would still be part of the empire. The fact of the matter is that our property tax code in this state is completely unacceptable. I just took my car in to get it repaired. It will be worth more when I drive it off the lot than when I drove it on. Should I have to pay taxes on that? Now, I've talked to farmers. If they fix the barn, the county assessor is going to tax them. But if they tear down the barn, they're going to get taxed. That's not right. They literally have to wait for their property to rot until some rich farmer or corporation comes along and buys their property, or they agree to go to work for the government. You know, my uncle put a deck on his home. His property taxes tripled. You ought to be able to fix your property. You ought to be able to add a deck on or finish your basement without the government coming and stealing your labor. You know, you look at urban businesses. If you go to Des Moines, there's abandoned property. If you drive through Main Street, we were just in a Fairfield, and there's a business, Checkers, that's sitting there empty. And you drive throughout Iowa, and there are these empty buildings sitting there. And if you, as a family, go and buy a piece of property and fix it up, they come and nail you. Now, in Des Moines, there's a Happy Joe's that's empty on Southeast 14th and McKinley. And if you had a family come along and they opened that back up and they started selling ice cream and pizza again because they're in the shadow of Walmart and Lowe's and Best Buy, that property is going to shoot from being about a $10,000 or $15,000 acquisition to a $1 to $2 million piece of property. And they can't even sell pizza or ice cream now because they can't afford to work for the government. So I actually support changing not just reducing property taxes, not just creating these phony abatement schemes and letting government pick winners and losers through things like TIF districts, which encourage urban sprawl. But I actually support doing what Reagan did, helped drive in California in the 60s, and that's linking property taxes to the purchase price, which simply says you pay 1% of the purchase price annually on your property. So if you buy a piece of property for $25,000 in 2011, you pay 1% or $250. And in 2021, what would you pay? And in 2031. And what this means is working men and women in Iowa would be able to buy property, fix it up, own it, create commerce and business there, and not have the government come and steal their hard work. As it is now, if you buy property, if you want to be an entrepreneur in this state, you find a rich landlord who develops the property, you pay him $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month. At the end of 30 years, if he hasn't sold the business from underneath you, he's sitting there with a bag of money like this. You got to call yourself an entrepreneur, maybe belong to the Chamber or the Better Business Bureau, and hope Social Security's still there for you. And that's ridiculous. So we need to reform our property tax code. And to go along with that, we need to even more fundamentally make a statement. We have 25% of the world's best soil in this state. Now, 85 to 90% of the food we consume in this state is produced outside Iowa. Now, I don't just say I'm a 10th Amendment constitutionalist like some people. You know, they say, well, I'll invoke the Constitution against Obamacare, and then they're asking for more federal money. There are very few areas where I actually support getting federal dollars into Iowa. Highway funds is one of them. I don't support agricultural subsidies. I don't support ethanol subsidies. I want to opt out of No Child Left Behind. It is insane to have a system designed to make every school fail and every school district fail over time so as to be able to accelerate a federal government takeover of our local schools. In our 10 largest cities in Iowa, 32 of the 33 urban high schools are officially failing, including every high school in Davenport, every high school in Des Moines, every high school in Cedar Rapids, and Iowa City and Sioux City, with real consequences to that officially failing tag, which the major media won't report on. They just say, well, it's No Child Left Behind. This law was designed to accomplish one thing: the federal takeover of our education system. Now, right, you know, I was talking to somebody on the way down here, and I said, the only time you see a national model like this in terms of the encroachment of the government into capturing the minds of our young people was what would happen with Hitler Youth. You know, now you know that you're not supposed to bring up what happened in Nazi Germany because of all the connotations associated. But if you look at the parallel, the federal government has managed to pass a law which has been able to go into first the major urban districts and eventually the smaller rural districts, and will literally say, your schools are failing, we're taking them over. So anyway, not to get off on a tangent, so as we look at you know, our soil is some of the best soil in the world. We should not create a tax code that says, if you go and pour concrete over our rich black soil, we will bring roads and sewers and poles in here. But if you go into developed areas in Davenport and Waterloo and Des Moines, or if you go into Main Street, rural Iowa, and you just have to take plywood off of a building and fix the plumbing and turn on the electricity, we're going to tax you to death. That's bad government, and it stifles our free market. So I want to reform the property tax code. The third thing is fixing the sales tax. You pay 7% here. It's ridiculous that a grandma pays 7%. It's ridiculous that a single mom pays 7%. Well, we have had lobbyists literally purchase exemptions for major interests that pay 0%. Now, I'm not a soak the rich guy, but it's ridiculous when grandmas are paying 7% on a Happy Meal for their grandkids, and we got millionaires that aren't paying a penny. So let's drop the sales tax to 3 cents for everybody with exemptions for food, medicine, medical services, and utilities. The final area of tax reform is individual income tax reform. And there are 4 areas within that. Preserve federal deductibility, lower the top rate to 6%, but not raise the lower rate. And most flat taxers don't realize, while they may be reducing the top rates, they're lowering the bottom rates. And the problem isn't that we need to figure out how we can keep revenue to the government. What we need to do is figure out how to detox these politicians from spending, wasting, and giving away our money. The third area of individual tax reform is eliminating taxation after 40 hours. Now, I've lost some weight. If you look in there, you'll see on page 9, I look 15 months pregnant. But I went to Hardee's about 2 or 3 months ago at 3:22 a.m., and the young lady working there had a sophomore in high school, a 3-year-old, and she had to be at her other job at 8 a.m. Now, why are we taxing her? She's working 2 jobs so she doesn't have to go on welfare. Why are we taxing her so we can literally give the money to Bill Gates, Microsoft in West Des Moines, or the Google billionaires in Council Bluffs? Let her keep her money and let her stimulate the economy. And our economic plan is called Iowa Stimulating Iowa, or Citizen Stimulus, which basically means this. You keep your money as a citizen and you stimulate the economy.